tomorrow, and also as we continue following up with our action plans. We ask for your holy presence, your guidance, where we lack in wisdom, fill us with your grace. We ask all these through Christ our Lord and Savior. Amen.
I'm once again privileged to introduce one of our speakers, Madam Fanny Memu. Fanny is a social development specialist who is very passionate about working with children and families from underserved populations. He works for Catholic Relief Services and he has worked there for more than 15 years. He has more than 15 years experience working with orphans and vulnerable children. Her most recent work has been leading the For Children Project, a global orphans and vulnerable children project, as the project director in Kenya. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to welcome Femi to lead us through case management and the social service workforce presentation.
Thank you very much. Special thanks to the organizers for the invitation and distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. Yeah, I was going to talk about case management and the social service workforce, and I will look at the key concepts, the principles, and a few examples from the field. So this content, the content presented is informed by the excellent work of For Children and the Global Social Service Workforce Alliance with funding from USAID. Yeah, so I'll begin by defining what case management is. And according to the Global Service Social Workforce Alliance, it describes case management as a process practiced by social service workers that support or guide the delivery of social service support to vulnerable children and families and other populations in need. And it says that when done well, the case management utilizes standard tools and standard operating procedures. These standard operating procedures clearly outline what the process or the steps in case management are, and what tools are supposed to be used in the case management process, and how you're supposed to go about delivering your interventions using the case management process. And when done well as well, case management is very participatory in a way that it recognizes the importance of the beneficiary as a participant in the process. So the beneficiaries are not only there to receive services, or as agencies, we're not just there to be able to provide services to beneficiaries, but it recognizes beneficiaries as very active participants in that they have strengths that can be utilized to be able to accomplish that case management process. It is also participatory in a way that it brings together a coordinated approach, bringing together various stakeholders to be able to work together to be able to ensure that the success of a case management process. It also uses evidence to inform decisions. So if it is done well, then it uses evidence to inform the decisions in a way that it uses, to make sure that assessments are done, then the assessments are able to bring out what are the real needs of those beneficiaries, and then they are able to use that to be able to come up with actions to be able to help or to support families. And it also works towards agreed upon end goals. Case management is a process, and it has a beginning, and the goal of case management is to be able to have to meet the goals of the beneficiary, so that at a point in time, then they are able to achieve what they have or address their needs and the goals of what they wanted to do. So it has an end in it. So as the case management process, then we should be able to, we have a plan, but at the end of the day, we also want to make sure that the households or the beneficiaries that we're helping will reach a point where they're able to now achieve their goals and they're able to exit the interventions of the program that Yeah, so what is this case management, or what are the steps in case management? So the 4Children project has utilized a 7-step process to facilitate case management with all of its offers and vulnerable children projects. So these 7 steps start with identification. And during identification, projects use or interventions use criteria that will be able to identify beneficiaries that are eligible to benefit from the interventions. Once the beneficiaries are identified, then they are enrolled in the interventions. And the most important part of this enrollment, it also involves the consent. Yeah. The beneficiaries who are supposed to take part in the case management process are supposed to give consent to what they are going into. This consent, we are also saying that should be informed. They need to know what they are getting into, and they are willing to be part of that process. Then after the enrollment, then the case management process, then the other step is to be able to do an assessment of what the needs of those households or the beneficiaries are. So the assessment involves a number of processes where if that household then has children, then it also recognizes the fact that you need to have a conversation with, especially the children who are older, that can be able to give their perspective on how the issues around or situation around where they're living is. So that assessment is conducted with the beneficiaries, and after the assessment, then it's supposed to now lead to development of a case plan. And the case plan is actually a written plan which actually identifies, what the actions are, who is supposed to actually be able to participate, who is actually supposed to provide those actions, and again also how those actions are going to be delivered, and what is the goal of coming up with that action plan. So the step 4, after you assess the needs of the households, and one important thing that we like to point out, during assessment, case management recognizes the fact that we are not only looking at the needs of the household, but also the strengths. Because that is what we want to see in beneficiaries. They also have some strengths that we also need to actually capitalize also, that we can be able to help the case management process. Step 4, we develop the action plan or the case plan, and it has very clear actions on what needs to be done, and at what time frame then those actions will be done, and who is involved, who is responsible, including now the household, what is their role in terms of working on that case plan. After developing the case plan, then we go to implementation, and implementation involves direct service provision, where if interventions are able to provide the services, but also these are points where we also conduct referrals when specific agencies are not able to provide the services that the household require to be able for them to achieve their case plan. Then monitoring goes on during the implementation to see whether the actions are being implemented as indicated, and also whether the households are actually moving towards the intended goals that have been written down. So monitoring as a process just checks to see if everything that has been planned is going on as planned, and in case maybe there are any issues that are coming up, or maybe situations that are coming up in the household, because at times it happens that you can work with a family, and then maybe something happens in a family, maybe that was not captured during the case plan development, like maybe a caseworker goes to a household and realize that maybe there's a case of defilement, so they need to again look at it, revisit the case plan and be able to update it, and then be able to come up with actions that will be able to address those issues that are coming up. Then as I said, the end goal of case management is to be able to help the families or the beneficiaries to be able to achieve their case plan. And if the case plan is implemented documented and everything is achieved, then the expectation is that the case will come to a close and the house or the beneficiary will be able to exit the program. Yeah. So those are the steps in case management, and as I said that as we carry out case management, then we also need to recognize that it has an end in itself, and as we do the intervention, then we should be able to work towards that end. And this is a point where now the household or the beneficiary will be able to take care of their needs and be able to provide for their families. So that should be the goal of case management. So what are the key principles of case management? Yeah. So when implementing the case management approach, then these are the key principles that guide all the actors that are involved in a case management process, and their practice. And the practice of all the actors should be actually be guided by these principles. So one, we are saying increasing resilience. One of the principles is to increase resilience and improve quality of life. So as we work with households or as we work with beneficiaries, then using the case management approach, so we want to see them improve their well-being, and we want to see that their status is improving, and households are stable and secure enough to meet their needs, and they are also resilient enough to be able to withstand modest shocks. For case management, we also emphasize the issue of collaboration and partnership. And what is important here is to ensure that the case workers who are involved in case management, they should not work in isolation. And there should be proactive collaboration, and this proactive collaboration is what ensures that there is success in the case management process. Then as we work with children, we work with families and children, then we should ensure that the interventions and the actions that are designed are not actually doing more harm to the children. We should also respect and promote strength of all involved. I've talked about looking at how when undertaking the case management process, we also need to look at the strengths of the households, not only the needs. So we need to recognize that households have strengths, and how do we work with them to be able to realize that so that they can be able to meet their goals. Another principle is the respect for diversity, culture, and tradition. So the case workers who are working with beneficiaries should be able to understand the culture of where they are working in, and should be able to recognize the fact that the children and families belong to communities and they belong to cultures, and how do they leverage on that to be able to support the families, how do the communities be able to support their own children and families. Another principle is again respect for and reflection of our human child rights-based approach. So as we work with children or families or beneficiaries, then they need to be consulted. They need to be consulted, and they need to be consulted on the decisions that affect their lives. So as we work with them, then remember that they need to be consulted, and then they also need to be consent to participate in case management process. And this consent need to be informed, as I said. Then we cannot overemphasize on the issue of confidentiality. We need to protect information to ensure that the information does not go to the wrong hands, that only those people who are supposed to maybe help in the process access the information. So why the change then in case management? We are saying there is need for standardized definitions, steps, standard operating procedures and tools. So as we work with beneficiaries, as we work with our families, as we work with children, there is need for standardization. In the sense that when we talk of service provision, what do we mean? When we talk of, when we say that we are providing case management. We are doing case management. So what does that mean? Who is a case worker? You know, so case management approach actually gives out those standardization of those definitions. It also clearly outlines the steps of what needs to be taken, undertaken, to be able to, when you're helping a child or a family or a beneficiary. There's also a need for having standard operating procedures. So what does this process entail then? So case management is able to provide the steps on how you're supposed to do when you're providing interventions for families. Then now what I've outlined the 7 steps. Where do you start and where are you supposed to end? And what are you supposed to do? What are the processes that are involved in case management? Then the check report, we also need to have the tools. How do we do it then? Yeah? When we are identifying children or when we are developing case plans, what are these tools that can be used to be able to facilitate this process? Then there's also more emphasis on evidence and data, and case management facilitates this. There's increased focus on quality assurance and life satisfaction. We need to tell at the end of the day if we are really improving the well-being of children. So case management process actually facilitates this. There is also we need a systematic and integrated approach at the family and child level. So as we use the case management approach, then this gives us, a structured way of how we are helping children, we are helping families. And it's also an integrated approach in that it brings everyone on board to be able to help these families to meet their goals. There's also need for better use of resources, which I inform better use of resources in a way that when you focus on doing the management process, you're able to identify issues. And these issues will actually help you to come with what are the actions that are needed to help that family. So, for instance, maybe you're working in a certain setting and you have a number of beneficiaries. So you'll be able to provide targeted interventions to, you're actually looking at the real needs of the beneficiaries that you're working with. So in case maybe it's a family that has issues of health, then you are able to provide targeted services on areas of health. If it's a family that has a number of issues in education and health, you're able to provide that. So it allows for better use of resources because the interventions are targeted. It also facilitates linkage between service providers. It's comprehensive, coordinated, and it's a holistic delivery of services. So it looks at all the issues in the families on what are the issues, and they are able to provide a comprehensive service. And we think there's a very important component of referral and case management. So if issues are identified at the assessment level, and maybe a single agency is not able, or a case worker is not able to provide that, then it calls for that coordination for them to be able to reach out to other stakeholders or other actors to be able to provide, a comprehensive package to the families. It's efficient and effective response to internet use faced by children and families, but it's also used for both prevention and response. So the case management process allows for that, or the concept allows for all that. And that's why we interchange. Like as we work as practitioners or as case workers, as case managers, then we have a systematic way of how we are providing interventions. And at the end of the day, we have a goal that we want to achieve after working with the families or after interacting with the families. So I want to look at case management and the social service workforce. So the global social service workforce defines the social service workforce as both paid and unpaid workers. They can be both professionals or para-professionals, government or non-governmental employees. They can also be members of community-based coordination mechanisms such as the child protection committees. We also, during the case management process, we also have what we call the allied workers, the people that work for, they are not social service workers, but we link with them to be able to provide comprehensive services for children. So these can include the police, the teachers, the doctors, nurses, community health workers, magistrates, social security and labor office workers, religious leaders, and others. Yeah, so there are several key people involved in the case management process, and for children, defining them as either a caseworker or a case manager. And for a caseworker, we define a caseworker as an individual working at the community level who is responsible for conducting the direct case management actions with a child, family, or vulnerable population. So examples of these case workers can be the community health volunteers, the parasocial workers, community officers, and so on. And this can be either paid or unpaid, or civil society. For a case manager, for children defines a case manager as an individual working with civil society organization or government structures who is responsible for managing data flow and providing technical support to and oversight of case workers. So this can include the social workers, it can include the county children officers and the Department of Children's Services. This can also be in government, or they can also be civil society organizations. So it defines, it categorizes the social service workforce into two, the case worker and the case manager as I have defined. So what do these social service workers need to be able to do their job well? For the case workers, they need standardized training. For them to be able to carry out their work, to be able to do their work well, then there needs to be a standardized training that will be able to, give them the skills and the knowledge of how to work with families, how to work with children. It also includes pre-service and regular in-service trainings. There's also need for regular supportive supervision and case review, and also peer support and self-care. We all recognize that the case workers, if we take an example of the community health volunteers or the parasocial workers that work at the community level, they really issues, they look at so many issues at the community level, and we realize that at times they go through a lot and need support as well. Yeah, so self-care and peer support is very important, and support supervision to help them do their work well. For the case managers, these are typically the people who have completed formal education. They can be degree holders or diploma holders. So what they need is pre-service training, ongoing supervision, and technical training on specific topics related to management, for example, to management and social work. Yeah, so what resources are required for quality case management? The Global Social Service Workforce Alliance has identified key resources needed to ensure a case management approach. So the critical ones are the standard operating procedures and tools. So they need to be a standard way of how processes are done, and tools for making sure that they are used in the process. Trained workers, they need a place for storage of confidential records, transport, telephone, place to hold meetings. Other considerations include maybe documentation, an emergency fund, and incentives and motivation. Yeah, so you will agree with me that case management is not a new thing, and we have quite a number of examples within the region who have been able to, maybe programs and agencies have been able to implement the case management approach. So I'll give an example of Kenya. For Kenya, we have the USAID funded programs that are supporting vulnerable children. We have a project called Nilinde that is being implemented by Plan International. We have another project, Case OVC, implemented by Christian Aid, and Mwendo, supported by Catholic Relief Services. These three organizations or projects work across the 47 counties. And they, with technical assistance of 4 children, have strengthened and standardized their case management processes, tools, and training. The case management for OVC program for this program is designed with a child protection and HIV sensitive lens, and you'll be learning more about these efforts in other presentations. During the breakaway sessions, we have the different programs presenting case management. Other examples, again, we have the example of Namibia, that was able to develop a case management system, national case management system. The government of Namibia developed a standard case management process for child protection for case management, and we have also other governments that have either done or are in the process of doing so, and that includes Swaziland. We also have Kenya that is also developing their national, in the process of finalizing their national guidelines, and Uganda. For Children Uganda has developed a case management package to support children into family-based care. And this work will also be presented at the conference. Other organizations such as Hope and Homes for Children have also developed case management approaches for this institutionalization. We also have examples from the humanitarian setting. So the development sector has actually learned greatly from the work of the humanitarian sector. And the case management in emergencies in refugee populations such as in Kenya and Uganda have utilized case management, especially for child protection. Yeah, so before I conclude, I would like you to give you some reference, very useful resources on case management that you can be able to sign in and be able to get all the useful resources. We have the obc.support.org, and there are several useful case management documents, including studies, job-based standard operating procedure and webinars. So you can log into www.obcsupport.org for information. We also have the Global Service Workforce Alliance. Their concepts and principles of case management documents, compendium of case management tools, standard operating procedures, and trainings, webinars. So you can log into that website for more information. You can also join the Global Social Service Workforce Alliance, including the case management interest groups. A lot of interesting conversation go on there that can be actually provide a lot of information for the work that we are doing. Then we also have the Alliance for Child Protection in Humanitarian Action, excellent resources for case management in emergency settings. You can also log in there for information on issues of case management. So thank you so much.
I think you can do better than what you've done today. That was a brief presentation on case management and social service workers. I would inquire if William Onkoba is around. Is William Onkoba around? If William is not in, I'll move to the next presenter. They will have a plenary discussion where they will have, both of them will respond to issues raised concerning their presentations. And the next person to give us some good and interesting presentation, the interplay of culture and law in child protection. And this will be given by none other than Edmund Foley. Let me introduce Foley before he comes to stage. He's the head of the Department for Public Law at the Ghana Institute of Management and Public Administration Law School. He has in-depth knowledge of the African human rights system, which he has translated into research, litigation, capacity building, networking, strategic planning, program development, and practical engagement with the mandates of human rights protection mechanisms of systems. He brings a rich experience in developing and protecting the work of human rights organizations before African Union, human rights institutions, and possesses strong advocacy, diplomacy, and communication skills, as well as good research skills. Mr. Foley's specialties are in international human rights, litigation and advocacy, negotiation and mediation. So this is the person that we are going to listen to. I would request all of us just to welcome him with a few claps and I'll control them. Thank you, thank you.
Habari, as they say in Kenya. It's a joy to be back in Kenya. A lot of my human rights work started from here in Kibera, interestingly. Of all places, for Kenyans, Kibera is not a very nice place to enter. I became associated at some point with the Nubian community, and that really defined my work with the human rights bodies in Africa. Eric, could you just help me to get the folder open? So I, at some point, worked on the rights of Nubian children to Kenyan citizenship. And that launched me fully into working on children's rights. Working on children's rights. And since then, I've continued.
Still not on the screen.
Still not on the screen. Yes, there will be happy in a second. Yes, there we go. So alongside doing that work, working with the Nubian community and working with other communities in Africa, in the Gambia, back in my own country, Ghana, I've also forayed into trying to understand how we can use our local systems to strengthen child protection across the continent. 3 years ago, I worked in our own Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection in Ghana as a technical advisor, and assisted in developing a new child and family welfare system, which informs Ghana's current child protection system. So I don't know if colleagues planning the conference managed to spy into my life to see that I also foray into matters cultural and matters local. So this morning, I propose to try and get us to think from the global to the national, and try to understand how law and culture work together. And for those with a legal background, you know that trying to define law any day is a very dangerous exercise. It is around us, much as culture is. It is around us, but how do we make sense in terms of trying to define? And for any academic as well also, we try not to bother ourselves so much with definitions, but we need to start from somewhere. So I just want us to get a sense of the three concepts we are going to work with in this presentation: law, culture, and child protection. So for the most difficult one, I tried the most simple. Generally, when we talk of law, we will think of rules that would regulate human conduct in any way. So think of any kind of rule, in any discipline or in any field, there are rules. Or in some others, there are no rules. Yes. So we can think of law broadly as that area of human endeavor which looks at the rules with which we govern ourselves. Recently, during the World Cup, we had a new one, video-assisted referee, those who like football, and the changes it brought. Again, we can think of law, and what most of us know is a certain regime of sanctioning. Yes, and for those who study legal philosophy, we will talk of law as what? Command, and law that will get us to obey. So the reason why we will all drive carefully in traffic is that there is another side to it. If we hit someone or we run red lights, there is a sanction. So we can understand law also within that context. Then you can also understand law as a system itself. And so you can talk of various legal traditions. We are in Kenya. Kenya follows the common law legal tradition. Some countries follow the civil law tradition. Some follow the Roman Dutch law tradition. So you can also think of law within those contexts, the systems. But come closer home, in our traditional communities also, you can look for a system of law where you talk of maybe particular customs or traditions or certain norms, customs that would regulate, you could say, families, systems that would regulate, or norms that would regulate marriage, ones that would regulate inheritance, one that would regulate how leadership changes in terms of who becomes a chief and others. And then there's a higher sense of law when we talk of how nature is ordered. And so you can talk of natural law. The rain comes down at a particular time, and plants would bear fruit at a particular time. Animals would have their young at a particular time. In a certain broader context, also for us who work in the law, we consider it as law. Let's come to culture. Also a very contested concept, but in recent scholarship, one thing culture is not is that it is far more than the items of culture. So we can point to certain items of culture. You look at a society's language, their rituals, clothing, theater, their norms, and of course their practices. Culture is more than these things. One author says that culture is actually, if you look at it, our capacity for creating the categories of our experience. So it is both what we do and how we express what we do every day. And when it gains a certain consistency, you can talk of it as what? A culture. So in that respect, what does it do? Culture bonds us. It's what holds society together in certain broad spheres of human endeavor, our social life, our economic life, our political, as well as our legal, all these things, categories, characteristics of law that I have mentioned. Again, culture within the sphere of our capacity to do what creates the various categories of our experiences, daily experiences. It is a force that ensures that all these experiences are manifest in a certain logical and natural manner, so that it comes to us ordinarily. So because of culture, when you speak a language, Habari, Mzuri, we take it for granted at a certain point because it is part of our ethos, it is part of who we are. So this is what we try to understand and work with as law, culture, when we are trying to understand this interplay. How about child protection? To make life again easy, I go to the sense that UNICEF, and we can all perhaps agree on UNICEF because of its global outlook, and because a lot of us in our countries are already members of the United Nations. So UNICEF as the key child, you could say implementation body for the UN, considers child protection as a process, first, of understanding the full spectrum of risk factors in the lives of children and their families. And these risk factors, mostly, we look at issues of violence, exploitation, and abuse. So apart from being a process, there's also a focus on what? Prevention and response. Then when you talk of a child protection system, then you're looking at that system that helps you with prevention and response in cases where you're not being able to prevent the abuse. Giving us some guidance in what constitutes or the constituents of a good child protection system, the United Nations Committee on the Rights of the Child, in General Comment number 5, General Comment number 5 looks at implementation of the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child. General Comment number 5, and recently some work I've seen done by the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights in trying to guide countries. What constitutes a good child protection system? You need good policies. So there must be a system of good public policy, practices, programs, and services. That's one key thing. You can also look at coordination, institutional coordination, planning, developing, adopting, enforcing, monitoring, evaluating, all of these things would, at the national level, and of course decentralized, but with a national outlook. You also need data collection. You want to prevent or respond to abuse. You need information. So data collection and analysis systems You also need independent monitoring systems. Who watches the watchman is a critical part of a child protection system. You also need to raise awareness about children's rights. So you need a system for disseminating and raising awareness about children's rights. Of course, resources are key, and you need specialization. My dear sister Feni has just talked about case management systems and the social workforce. So you need specialized human resource in sufficient quantity. You also need financial resources, and then you need protocols and standards for action. She's talked at length, for instance, about case management standard operating procedures. So if you want to conceptualize a national child protection system, this is what you are looking at. Now let's get a bit more specific about law and culture. What is the relationship? What is the interplay? The two have always worked together. They've been intertwined, much as you can identify them as separate fields of endeavor. If you take law, both in its development and implementation has been an aspect of society's culture. And culture has also been a part of law. So sometimes you talk of having a culture of law. There have been a number of approaches. In fact, in the literature, if you look, there are about 9 approaches, but 3 of them stand out as to how the two concepts have worked together. You can think of the historical school, which was developed really in the German legal thought space. So the historical school thinks that law is a product of a nation's culture, as embedded in their daily practices. So when we pass laws, it is actually not something alien to us. It's rather a reflection of existing social practices. And for us in West Africa, I'm sure a number of you watch Nigerian movies. And Nigerian movies always have a certain element of using the supernatural to deal with issues that, to settle scores. And for us in West Africa, anytime we watch these movies and we criticize ourselves that why are we always showing movies about witchcraft and taking someone's money, our own response is that it's actually a reflection of daily life in West Africa. Because most people, much as they will go to a church or mosque, would equally want to consult something behind a red curtain with a face painted in so many different colors. So yes, law is actually, from that German legal thought school thing, when we pass laws, it is a reflection of what our daily practices are as a society. Then you can think of the American approach from American legal thought, what they call the constitutive approach, that law actually participates in constituting culture. Therefore, law helps us in actually forming our thoughts, our minds, our practices, and our social relations. So think of marriage again. The laws of marriage will actually, in a sense, direct how we even choose our partners. If you look at our traditional African societies and how we select partners, and how the contract, the marriage contract is even formed per customary law. In my country, your parents don't even have a say in the enterprise. It's uncles and aunties who are the people who are local standard, as we say in Latin in law, who have the legal capacity to actually conclude that contract. In some cases, you don't even have a right of choice for a bride or husband is selected for you. So all these go into how law forms social relations. And finally, law can also be a certain thought process or life. So you can think of law as a culture approach, which comes out in Anglo-American legal thought. So the law created by the courts, and courts also create law when judges hand down decisions. They create a certain body of law, and persons who practice law imbibe that culture, and they also put it out on society. So lawyers go to court, they will address judges in a particular way. They will get all of us to address courts and work with that structure in that particular way. How do we sum up all this from all these schools? I found a quotation from Lawrence Rosen, which I think captures the thought, and it's reproduced in the work of Schiffman. He says, law and culture cannot be disentangled. Law is so deeply embedded in the particularities of each culture that carving it out as a separate domain and only later making note of its cultural connections distorts the nature of both law and culture. From this perspective, we must not see law as simply an autonomous system of rules that regulates disputes. Law is instead constitutive of how members of a society envision themselves and their relations to each other. So in effect, we have a very good marriage. You can't divorce the two, even though they are two distinct entities. How do we bring it into child protection? And I start my discussion from the African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Child, because that is one instrument which for us sets the tone in Africa. And it's interesting that in its preamble, it spoke to the position of the child. I thought that was very interesting. They situated the child within both a legal and cultural context. So the preamble says, recognizing that the child occupies a unique and privileged position in the African society, and that for the full and harmonious development of his personality, including her personality, the child should grow up in a family environment in an atmosphere of happiness, love, and understanding. And if you go down further, the Charter says, taking into consideration the virtues of their cultural heritage, historical background, and the value of the African civilization. Again, making references to Africa's culture. And please note civilization. So I've come to say culture is not static. And we need to divorce our minds of culture as something encased in a tomb somewhere we visit from time to time to pay homage to. If you look at the duty of the state in Article 1 of the African Children's Charter, member states have a responsibility to take legislative and other measures to give effect to the Charter. But note something in Clause 4 of Article 1. Any custom, tradition, cultural or religious practice that is inconsistent with the rights, duties, and obligations contained in the Charter should be discouraged. So the obligation of the state within our context requires us to also clearly identify cultural norms and practices which are contrary to the rights of the child and weed those out. Although the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child does not mention culture specifically, if you look at its terms, states are also required to take what? Appropriate legislative measures and administrative measures to do what? To protect the child from all forms of physical or mental violence. And I think the CRC comes to complement the African Charter by making reference to the child protection framework. So how do we see these two instruments influencing our national child protection systems in practice? States must adopt legislative measures, and it's crucial to developing and sustaining your child protection system. You need to ground it in law, and do so perhaps in your statute or your constitution. I think for Kenya, you've done very well. If I look at the 2010 constitution, you have quite a strong provision on protecting of the child protection. South Africa also has a very good constitutional provision in that regard. Now the legislative measures and of course the administrative measures, including policy, must take account of the cultural ethos of the family. And that is why sometimes for us in Africa, especially Southeast Asia and other developing economies or nation states, you get the backlash that we often import systems that are alien to us. But there have been some good approaches in Africa, and I'll just give you a few. If you look at Lesotho's Child Welfare and Protection Act, it provides for something called the Village Child Justice Committee, which is supposed to be the basic framework for child justice matters. So children who commit offenses, and the Act speaks to victim-offender mediation. What I like about the Lesotho system is that the Act actually, if you look at the constitution of that village child justice committee, it includes the traditional ruler in that community. But he or she is not, in most cases, he is not necessarily the chairperson of that body. So that committee elects its own chair. And that is an advancement on African culture, because you would think that the chief would always chair. In my own country, Ghana, a similar system is the child panel system, which is very similar to the Lesotho one. And that child panel not only looks at cases of adjudication, but is also supposed to look at child protection issues at the district level. Our child and family welfare policy, like I said, is moving away from focus on the state institutions to community and family-led systems and interventions. So if a child is harmed in the community, rather than looking for, say, a refuge, a center for refuge or a rescue center, the queen mother in the community, and we have such a role in our traditional governance system, the queen mother is supposed to take that child and protect the child. Zanzibar also has a very strong focus on rehabilitation of children who come into conflict with the law. I witnessed, for want of a better term, a day detention facility for children. So the children go home, they come in for skills training, and they are allowed to go back home to stay with their families. Again, they have a campaign, the Baba Bora campaign, which focuses on fathers. Of course, men, they are often the abusers. To avoid the use of violence in disciplining their children, since fathers are seen as having that role of, you could say, ensuring discipline for their children. But note these pitfalls. It's not all nice and rosy. Law can actually stagnate child protection. When you have lawmaking processes that alienate children and persons who work with children, you'd actually be failing. So you need a very broad consultative process. Laws which are also discriminatory against particular vulnerable groups. You have laws that invariably would discriminate against the girl child, for example, or children with disabilities, or in the implementation, when we do not provide the facilities, reasonable accommodation as you would require for children with disabilities. For culture, yes, the African Children's Charter makes reference to harmful social and cultural practices, and the list is endless. You also have cultural norms which can stifle child protection, particularly those ones that protect perpetrators and undermine interventions for protection. So somebody defiles or sexually abuses a child, and the child is forced to marry the person. So we ought to be alive to these pitfalls. In conclusion, there is a strong basis for undertaking the legislative measures, which is what states are required to do from a cultural perspective. And let's remember, culture is not static, it evolves. And so we need to harness culture as we go along the way. African culture, I argue, is both quote unquote rural, the static one we see, and urban, the contemporary. And we need to recognize that. It is perhaps what we think is primitive and at the same time modern. There is also, in my view, an urgent need for scholarship on this continent in particular into African culture and how it can assist us strengthen child protection systems. That's very, very critical for us here. Again, national legal systems have to go beyond merely the constitutional and legislative recognition of the existence of culture. So you have in the Constitution that African cultural systems or local cultural systems are recognized. To actually operationalizing them, we need to give effect to that culture within the national space. And how do we do this? I think we can strengthen the relationship between formal and informal justice systems, which ultimately oversee the implementation of the child protection framework. And then I argue rather radically, we should begin to think of including informal governance structures in our national lawmaking processes. So these are the thoughts I want to share with you. I say thank you in as many African languages as I know. Thank you very much.
we get to a session where I invite Finn to come in front. And we request that we have the ushers with the microphone to assist us. Please, can we be assisted with the microphones? We've listened to two presentations from Femi and Fole. And I know there are some issues that you may need clarifications on. Comments, questions, and we'll go in order. I'll take maybe two from this row, two from this row, and two from the last row. Normally we start with the right. I personally start with the right. So you can start from this side.
Good morning. My name is Mark Kea, and I would like to ask a question. This one goes to Femi, I mean. You talked about case management, and from your presentation, it focused more on orphans and vulnerable children. And I was wondering, because I work in the remand home, I was wondering, what about case management for children in conflict with the law? Or are we going generally to have two sets of case management? The one that is focused on orphans and vulnerable children, and then we have one again that is focused on children in conflict with the law. What's your opinion, please?
Another person, please, from this end.
Thank you. My name is Peter Gindo. I'm a children officer. My question goes to Raymond. You have talked very well with like your presentation, and it resonates very well with us, practitioners of the therapy. Now, culture, there are great progressive cultures. Drawing on your experience across the continent, it has not been very easy tackling this maybe too long. We have cases even here in Kenya, like the reproductive practice of FGM. What would be some of the measures of trying to overcome this?
We move to the next row, please. We have someone there. This side, this one. Thank you, this one. Okay, let's go through them.
Good morning, everyone. My question is on law. That presentation was very good, understanding our source. But I have a concern. As much as we have those good laws, and we contemplate them to really protect our children, we still have gaps. And then these gaps come into the areas of investigation. When you find, yes, this child was assaulted, but if you go to the final H, you find victims are said to have not done it. They are released. But the same law is not really focusing on the welfare of this child. And I think there is a gap. What could you be able to do so that we don't really focus on the offender, but on the welfare of the victim? Who is the child? Because most of the time you find whereabouts of this victim, nobody knows. But the offender, we want to see justice to the head. What happens to the victim? We have a gap. What can we be able to do?
Now I think we go three. Can we go to this row?
My name is Violet, and thank you, Mr. Edmund and Femi, for what you have given us. My question goes to Femi. In the implementation process of the case management, what are some of the challenges that you undergo, and how do you handle them? And again, how do the society receive the case management? Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Joan Mbongi. I work with the Life Skills Promoters as a youth officer. And my question goes to Edmund. And we have realized that there are situations that culture clashes with law. They don't go hand in hand. Where you get maybe a child has been abused, for example, but now the culture comes so loud, even from the perpetrator's kinsmen. So in that case, where do we go as social workers? Do we follow the culture or the law? Because at the end of the day, we also need to be received positively in the society so that we can work with them. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Nachi Makadira is my name from Cheshire Services, Uganda, all the way from Uganda. I have a comment for the first presenter on the issue of case management. I would wish you to share with us the experience here in Kenya as far as the referral as part of the pathway for case management. It is really an issue within the social workforce when it comes to referral. It is something when you get into the whole pathway, but how it works, for me, I found it a bit of a challenge. I wish you could share with us. Coming back to the law, of course, you noted special groups, and of course, the law recognizes those groups. Like children with disabilities, I think there is an implementation gap when it comes to the law process. If a child with disability has issues there, you find that there is law modification or adaptation in the law to respond to the issues. You take this child to the court, they will tell you they can't get the evidence. Probably this person is not able to speak out. And so how far could you update us on the issues of modifications around the law to address special groups like those ones? Thank you very much.
Now we move to the last one, pick 3. Yes?
Good morning. I'm Elizabeth Lama from Liberia, and I'm here representing Family for Every Child. My question is to Femi, and I say thank you very much for that case management presentation. What I want to know is that are there timelines, especially when you have complicated, I may say, cases? Do you have a set timelines for closing that case? And then to our culture and law on child protection. I know there are laws that we have on both, but do we, maybe as government, you can see that you are representing your government income on these laws and portions. Do we actually are there monitoring tool or implementation guidelines that we follow? Sometimes we have this rating, but do we actually implement and monitor our systems? Thank you.
Yes?
Good morning, my name is Jared from Ethiopia. I'm here representing Family for Every Child Alliance, global alliance of local organizations working in different countries. My question is on child protection. In my experience in Ethiopia, I think child protection to be effective, it has to be seen at different levels. I think my organization works at community levels. That's why we involve various stakeholders, relevant stakeholders, at community level, government stakeholders, traditional leaders, because of the issues that you mentioned, like the issues of culture, traditions, to be still in a more comprehensive way, in a systemic way. So maybe if you can share us, some of your experience in other countries for effective community level protection, I think, well, what do we really need to do? Our experience tells us that community level protection is more effective because the issues will be seen clearly, at the community level, and we can address clearly also the contextual issues because things at national level can be a little bit at higher levels, so we can see the differences at different communities. So I want your comment on this aspect. Thank you.
Can we get the last one from that row?
Good morning. My name is Khadija Abdallah from Tanzania. My concerns goes to Femi on the issue of case management, especially with the identification part. I want to know the criteria you use to identify those families or children to prioritize to be under case management. Thank you.
We'll give first chance to Femi so that he may respond to the issues raised.
Alternate for the several questions. So
yes,
I'll respond to about three, then I'll give a chance to my colleague to respond. Good question on the challenges in the case management process. Someone wanted to know if there are any challenges in the case management that we encounter in the case management process. I would say that like I was, during my presentation, I talked about the workforce, and as I say that the case management process relies on for instance, the volunteers, who provide a direct or interact directly with the families during this process. And since the case management process really relies on this workforce, the community health volunteers, remember most of these are paid, are unpaid. They are from the community, they are volunteers. So the issue of volunteerism, I think, can be one of the major challenges. And also, as volunteers, the issue of also the skills that and the literacy level that they're supposed to have to be able to deliver or to take part in this process. So if this is not thought of very well in terms of how do we then are able to ensure that we identify volunteers that can, they have a passion to work with children because remember these are volunteers, and that they can be able to also be able to participate in this process. I would say that we really need to have deliberate efforts to invest in trainings. We need to do a lot of capacity building for them to be able to take up this role. And also need to have a lot of supervisions for them to be able to carry out this role. So the issue of volunteers, I would say, can be a challenge because it's not thought of very well. And the issue of also the literacy levels for this cadre of people that in the workforce that we use. And then the other challenge under the case management process can also the issues of coordination. Remember, I said that for a case management process to work very well, there needs to be partnership and collaboration. So there need to be deliberate efforts for the different interventions to be coordinated or response to be coordinated. And this can be a real challenge if it's not done well. And in most cases, this has come up. So it's coordination is an important thing and can be a challenge if it's not actually thought of very well. Also, in addition to this, someone said, how is the community responding to the introduction of the case management system? I would say that for the case of the case workers, I think they are very happy about the case management process. They are excited about the case management process because for them, it's actually a motivation. At the end of it,
if a caseworker is able to work with a household and be able to help them to achieve their goal at the end of it, that satisfaction, the contentment that they've been able to make a difference in someone's life. And the fact that the case management process actually provides, it gives a guide on how the different processes are supposed to be undertaken. So it gives the tools that need to be used and how the processes need to be undertaken. Then this also gives a very clear guideline on how the caseworkers are supposed to work with the families. At least for the beneficiaries, the case management process, from experience, they've taken up this very well, because I mentioned the issue of using a strength-based approach. When we realize that the families are not just there to receive services or to be supported, but they also have strength that can be used to be able to build resilience in the families. So this gives them a sense of pride that they also have something to contribute to that process. So they've really received that very well. So although it's a process, it requires a lot of like sensitization and be able to make beneficiaries understand that they have a role in the case management process, but they're not only recipients or just there to receive services, but they have a role in it. So that's the experience we have so far. There's also a question on referrals in case management. If the case was given that where the question was that it can be a challenge, or it's a challenge in the case management process. And I would say yes, the referral can be a challenge if the process is also not thought of very well. And during the case management process or the approach, as I've said, referral is one big factor or one big aspect of the process. And for the case management process to be really effective, then the actors or the stakeholders need to establish a strong referral network or a strong referral mechanism. And this referral mechanism, then we need to consider issues of mapping. We need to know who is working where and what are they providing, and can we be able then to have a proper relationship to be able to know then what can they be able to support. So if mapping has not been done, you don't know what the other person is doing or who else is providing what, then referral can be very difficult. And the issue of also coordination, because at some point we need to know if the referral mechanism is working. So there need to be a deliberate effort for the case management approach system to work. Then we need to look at those issues like in terms of mapping and even coordination for it to work. So I think I would answer that and then let my colleague.
Thank you. Now, law retrogressive cultures, how do you deal with it? Yes, if you want to legislate it, it's easy on the one hand. I'll just give you two quick examples. We have a practice in Nigeria, my Nigerian brothers and sisters here, children being accused of witchcraft. I did some work on that in Akwa Ibom State. That's one of the most notorious places where you have this. The Children's Act of Nigeria is a federal republic. And so apart from the Federal Children's Act, each state is required to pass its own, each of the component states would have its own Child Rights Act, drawing from the federal. Akwa Ibom has a very good act, if you look at the terms of the act. But there have been little to no, few to no prosecutions for parents and caregivers who have actually put their children through this sad process. Some have lost their lives. Of course, if you're accused of witchcraft, you either burned alive or they drive a nail through the child's head. So we began to ask, why are they not reporting? And that called into question, why is the law not being implemented? Because the moment you go into those fields, even the police will tell you it's culture, and we don't want to fight culture. One line I've seen running through all these experiences, the second one is a practice of virgin slavery. It's called Trokoshi in my own country, Ghana. So your ancestors owed a debt many years ago, and to pay now, they get a young virgin girl from the family who serves in the shrine, the fetish priest, is in one particular area. We've passed an amendment to the Criminal Offences Act criminalizing this, but there's been no prosecution. the running theme for me is, did we consult on a certain level? I'm not saying or recommending that you negotiate with a perpetrator, but have we tried to understand from their perspective? I call for a certain Trojan horse approach to some of these things. Go in there, see the mind of the perpetrator to inform how you pass the law. Because often they perceive you as an outsider and perceive the national legislature sitting there, parliament, as an outsider, including their own member of parliament. You don't understand, and so there's resistance. So to beat the enemy, I think you need to understand how the enemy thinks. And that's one approach in law reform in Africa that you don't often see. And you get the resistance, and nobody would report. Linked to that is the kind of stakeholder you have. Who are the custodians of culture? They're often traditional rulers. And they seem to have a certain force of law and the command that when they speak, they are listened to. Whereas when the police speak, you don't listen to them. My former president Rawlings has joked that people come to court, put their hands on the Bible, and swear and tell lies. But they would go to a fetish shrine, swear by the deity, and speak the truth. And he asked, isn't there any way we can explore this force of the fetish to get people to actually obey the law? I remember the former president is asking us to go worship the fetish, but I see his reasoning. How do we work with these? And I think that all the questions even about how do we build child protection systems from the local level, we need to work with the custodians of that culture, or the persons who are perceived as having the ultimate say on those customs, and go in there and work with them, know the mind of the traditional ruler. I don't know if it's the same in other countries, but we're also seeing a certain shift now on the continent with who becomes a traditional ruler. You're getting more educated people. There's an example again from, it's not that Ghana is perfect, but we are documenting some of these good practices, so they can easily come to me. So chiefs actually give sanction on the spot. And most of the time, in most Ghanaian cultures, is sheep. You pay a fine of sheep, 2, 3 sheep, or local alcohol, palm wine or something. There's a chief in the Western region who has switched the punishment round. Instead of paying the fine of a sheep, when you infringe any of the local laws, he says, bring 2 bags of cement and 10 bricks. And that's how he has built schools and hospitals and things in his area. Yes. So you can still have the sanction, but change it. And I think that's how we go into their minds. Perhaps let them, or meet them halfway. This is how the community views these things, but the end result. So if you take child marriage, for instance, why are girls being married early? Oh, it's because they've reached puberty. But I think with education, we let the traditional leaders understand that years ago, puberty was actually at a later age. But today, it is at an early age. So you can still promote, of course, young persons keeping themselves, not getting into situations of risk with sexual violence and early onset of sexual activity. You can emphasize that, but take away the child marriage bit of things, you see, so that you rather have protection measures. And I think that's how we can deal with it. Investigations, there's a question about investigations and emphasizing the welfare of the victim. True. From a legal perspective, I know South Africa, Kenya, off the top of my head, you have Witness Protection Acts. So that is one way that you can take the child out of the exploitative environment or the abusive environment and give them that protective custody. And of course, the means to also confront the perpetrator. There was also a question on when law and challenges with children with disabilities and courts and modifications for giving evidence. It's one area where we haven't done a lot, particularly within the scope of children giving testimony. Because child participation under the African Children's Charter says a child who is capable of forming his or her own views in administrative and judicial proceedings must be given the opportunity. And we haven't. Most of our Children's Act or child justice legislation, when it comes to children with disabilities, so that's an area where we have a lot of work to do. Monitoring and implementation of legislation. There is an economist from South Africa, Conrad Barberton, who has developed a methodology for actually costing and sort of developing a model for implementation of laws. Because I think we often pass a lot of laws without thinking about, with all due respect to members of parliament, without thinking through the implementation and how we get feedback. So you pass a law, yes, communities should do ABC, without any steps or indicators or check boxes. And that can be done. Angola's Children's Act, for instance, was the 2013 or 2012 Act, yes, has an 11-point guide. There are 11 pillars when it comes to child protection and welfare, which have to be captured in resourcing for children. So at county level, at their local level, every assembly is supposed to budget for those 11 things. That for me is a clear indication of how you are able to get feedback. Because they say, the law says if those 11 things are not budgeted for, the budget should not be passed. So that's a good example. Which one have I not had? Yes. You go right now.
I would like to respond to the question on if there are set timelines for completing a case management process. I would like to say that, and then the issue of that some cases can be complicated at times. Maybe there might be they might take quite some time. So the question was asking if there are set timelines of how for completing a case management process. I would like to say that there are no set timelines for completing a case management process, but the timelines actually are actually determined by the issues that have been identified. And it is at the step where you are developing the case plan, that is the time when you are supposed to actually set timelines on when the different actions are supposed to be completed. And during the monitoring cycle, then when you realize that those set actions are not actually being addressed, then that is the point when then such a concern should be able to now investigate why such issues are not being addressed. And if the issues are complicated, then we have a tool called the case conference tool, where then we are able to bring a multidisciplinary team to be able to sit down and discuss such issues, to see where is anyone else who can be able to maybe refer to be able to support that process. So the timelines are not saying it depends on the case and the issues being addressed, and it's on a case by case. So during the case plan development, then we should be able to determine if it takes 6 months to address that case plan to be achieved, or it will take 3 months depending on the issues if they are not very complicated. And as I said, then the monitoring process really informs if then are we really achieving within the table that have been set during the case plan development. And then the issue of the case conferencing approach, I think that is an important thing, where now you bring in other actors in case maybe a case is really dragging and requires other people to come in and be able to provide support to address those issues. Then someone asked about the criteria for identification. And I would like to say that during the identification process, I think it's still be good to realize that for the case management process, it's important that there has to be tools, standardized tools, to be able how to carry out the identification process, and also standard operating procedures on how that process is supposed to be undertaken. What I would like to point out is that there needs to be consistency on how the criteria is being applied, because the criteria depends on the intervention that you're carrying out, but it needs to be consistent to ensure that there's fairness of the people who are coming in, who are being identified to be able to benefit from the project or the issues that the families have. So I would say that it will depend on the interventions, and there needs to be tools and standard operating procedures that are very clear criteria on how that is supposed to be applied, so that there's fairness and consistency in applying such a kind of criteria.
Okay, quickly, when law and culture clash, what do you do as social workers on the ground? My sense is work with an insider. Because often, if you, the social worker, come in, you meet resistance. You don't understand this culture. And then we need to investigate what is the culture and what is the crime of the culture. Now, I'll explain with an example. There's a practice in South Africa called ukutwala. This is more or less taking a bride, taking her away, whisking her off into the wind and going to marry her, and informing her family that she's with you. It's a form of bride kidnapping, let's put it that way. Now, there's been a court case in South Africa where a 28-year-old man was sentenced for ukutwala. The community, the backlash, there was some research done in that community, and they said, now a young man follows his culture and he's jailed for so many years. Oscar Pistorius kills his lover and he gets a lighter sentence. But then the researchers tried to let them understand that there was ukutwala. Let's investigate what its purpose was. It was not even an opportunity for you to speak with the girl immediately. It was to acknowledge to her family that I have her, I'm interested, and I want to marry her. And then the crime of sexual assault that has occurred, which the perpetrator has used ukutwala for. So I think on the ground, try and first of all work with somebody who the community will listen to. And then draw a line between what the culture is and what the offending activity is. And last point, yes, quickly, there was a question about different levels. Indeed, if you look at the report of the Inter-American Commission on a National Child Protection System, they do emphasize strongly that there should not be a one-size-fits-all approach. And you need to recognize that various societies within the same country will protect children in different ways. So acknowledge building your national child protection systems from the bottom-up approach, not from the top down, because you might fall into the pitfall of giving a one-size-fits-all approach.
I think that marks the end of this interesting presentation. Both Femi and Follen are still with us for consultations. And again, I remember saying